Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm going to be talking about the astrology for the week commencing 22nd of November, outlining the various aspects taking place this week and some of the patterns that we'll be experiencing in the skies and what these mean for us over the coming week. So we start off with, as usual, with these signs that the moon is transiting through. So at the start of the week we've got the moon is in Capricorn, so emotionally the main focus at the moment will be our working towards our goals and the period of manifestation, so taking the actions necessary to achieve long-term goals as opposed to just the immediate tasks of the daily life. Then on Thursday the moon will move into Aquarius, so this is a time where we may get that emotional feeling of being different, of that unique sense of stars that is different from everyone else. There's also a time where we may feel a need for community, so this is where people who are like-minded may feel the need to come together and work together as a community rather than just dealing with our personal projects. On Sunday, the moon moves into Pisces, and this brings that emotional need for that sense of oneness that we were all born out of and we will ultimately return to. So it's a time of exploring our dreams, of tapping into our deeper nature, of our tapping into our spiritual self and feeling that spiritual energy flowing through us. And then finally on Tuesday, the moon moves out of Pisces and into Aries, starting a new cycle through the zodiac, and this is a time of intentions and taking action towards whatever goals we happen to be pursuing at this point in time. So that's the moon for you. Now, one of the big main changes for this week is on the 22nd itself, the sun moves out of Scorpio and into Sagittarius, setting a new theme for the coming months. So this change out of Scorpio is basically moved from exploring the core of who we are, digging down deep into our psychological underpinnings, the deepest recesses of our minds, and taking that inward journey to a more outward focus, so looking at ideally how do we fit into the wider world around us, who are we in relation to the universe, and what is our understanding of life and how do we assign meaning to it. Now I'll do another video on this to go into more detail, but basically this is a time where if we've done the work of Scorpio of transforming our shadow self, so getting rid of or purging any selfish desires and moving towards a more transpersonal way of being, so this is where we've done the work of transforming our shadow, and through doing this and achieving greater levels of self-love, we can then love other people on a more universal level as opposed to conditional love. So it's unconditional love that we're striving for here. As we move into Sagittarius, this is now more like the meeting of the mind as opposed to the emotions, and this is a time where Sagittarius deals with the abstract, it deals with the higher meaning behind life, it also deals with natural law. Now Sagittarius isn't the same. It is about expanding the mind, but it's not the same kind of expansion as Pisces. Pisces is the limitless possibilities. Sagittarius here is more about trying to understand the sense of order. So it's not exactly embracing the chaos yet. It still has certain conventional means, but at the end of the day, it's about learning to be open and embracing of other cultures, of being different or embracing differences. And it's also expanding our minds through challenging our belief systems. So it's not just taking our own beliefs as gospel, it's being open to new experiences which challenge our underlying assumptions in life. Because if we've grown up in a Western environment, we suddenly spend a prolonged period of time somewhere in Asia, like India, could be China, Malaysia. They're very different cultures, they work on very different cultural assumptions and cultural beliefs, and staying there in any given length of time is bound to challenge our pre-existing assumptions of life based on where we grew up. So with Sagittarius, long distance travel is one of the ways that Sagittarius works to open the mind up. Another way is through education, so this is higher education, but this doesn't necessarily mean going to university, it could just mean investing in books from a completely different kind of culture to what we typically read. or engaging with people in our local environment who are from other cultures and learning how they view things. And it's also, Sagittarius also deals with philosophy. Now we see this manifest in the world through religion, but we all have our own philosophies, our own belief systems. Some of them are inherited, some of them are based on how our lives have materialised so far. But basically it's a time where we need to nurture these sides of things, so expand our minds through potentially travel. It could be through reading, through expanding the mind, and it could be through intuition of seeing how all these different threads interlink with one another to form the big picture, so the broad strokes. Because looking at the macrocosm here, so as I said, I'll go into more detail in this later video, but that's a basic overtone for it for now. Now, other things taking place, we still have that Mars square to Pluto going on. So this is going to carry on until the end of the month, and this, as I said before in the previous video, this is a time where we may be feeling a conflict inside between our conscious desires and what we want, and the deep levels of power, so these subconscious desires, unconscious manifestations of these desires. And when the two are conflicting with one another, i.e. we're not embracing both sides of this energy, and we'll generally experience one side of it out external to us, so we'll project one side of this square onto other people. But really, we need to remember that everything happening around us is a manifestation of what's happening within us. If we're in conflict or in a turmoil, then we'll probably experience turmoil in life around us. So if we're experiencing a lot of conflicts externally, whether it be conflict with authority, conflict with between the external authority and our personal desires, then we need to remember that these authorities in fact are symbolic of a part of our own subconscious mind that is challenging our desires and challenging our relationship with power. And it's a time when we need to reflect and question why we're experiencing this. What is this conflict trying to teach us, and how is it symbolic of what's going on inside us? Because it's a time of purifying desires, basically. So we need to move out of the egoic desires and understand that we share the world around us with 7 billion other people, so it's important that we don't just become selfish and pursue our own desires. We need to remember that we share the planet with the people. We can't just carry on doing my way or the highway. We have to look at the bigger picture and change our desires to a more pure desire based on higher love and based on using power in an empowering way, in a way that doesn't just help ourselves, it helps other people. Now from the 25th of November, we're going to have a wedge formation in the sky. This is going to be formed by Uranus and Pallas Athena, who both retrograde at the moment in Aries. Opposing them is Mars and Libra, are forming a sextile and trine to both of these is Saturn over in Sagittarius, forming a sextile to Mars and a trine to Uranus and Pallas Athena. So this formation is going to be with us from the 25th of November all the way through to at least the 6th of December. So during this period, we've already got the trine between Saturn and Uranus going on. It's been going on all year, but this is coming to an end now as the final exact trine has already taken place. But these two are basically, Uranus is awakening us to the I ams, to awakening to the deeper levels of our sense of identity, and trying to push past the limited egoic self which bases itself in Aries on our actions, and trying to help us or push us to realise that there's more to who we are, there's more to our sense of identity than our egoic definition. So we need to be tapping into the higher mind at this point to understand who we are as individuals and understand what changes we need to make in our lives in order to honour who we really are. Now Mars over in Libra, he's in his detriment here, or in his force. This is where he's in the sign opposite the one he rules, so he's having to operate in an area which works very differently to his natural sign, which is Aries. But Mars in Libra is all about actions and desires, but in relationship with other people. So this may be time we're looking at trying to understand how can we modify our actions and desires so they're in harmony with the needs of the whole, rather than just the whole my way or the highway. There's also the need to assert ourselves in our relationships and to remember to honour ourselves, or honour that sense of identity, but make sure that the actions we're taking also honour the other person. So it's honouring one another in our relationships through making our decisions in tandem with the other person. So it's using cooperation and understanding what each other's desires are in order to take actions that work in harmony with them. Now, opposite Uranus brings your also nervous system. It's also electricity. So this combination of Uranus opposite Mars may well feel like major overcharging of our nervous system, and we may feel need to take action to try and release some of this energy. But it's also, this aspect is challenging us to realise that we need to tap into the higher mind and understand who we are, but the world around us doesn't live in this rarefied environment. It lives in a mundane, practical world. It's a world that we still have to deal with the mundane side of things. So if we may understand ourselves at a much deeper level, but it's important that we don't just drift off into this hive mind world where there's a lot of abstract, there's a lot of understanding who we are, but we don't engage with the world around us. So it's important that whatever awareness we develop within ourselves, we also, through our actions, engage in the world around us and bring those insights into being to try and empower ourselves and other people. Saturn over in Sagittarius forming the supportive aspects here. Saturn is bringing the need for discipline. Now in Sagittarius, this tends to operate on a rather broad perspective, or an expansive way, as opposed to natural, practical, earthy way of Capricorn, which is Saturn's natural sign. But Saturn is also the discipline of challenging our belief systems, or showing us the result of what those beliefs do in our lives, because beliefs can either empower us or limit us, and Saturn has been showing us since at least 2015 the limitations that our own belief systems have within our own personal lives, of showing us where a certain belief about ourselves is preventing us from taking actions that would empower us to go further or to tap into our potential deeper. Saturn is like a guardian of potential. If we don't do the work of Saturn, which is challenging underlying assumptions, is trying to reorganise the energy of a sign to become more practical, more focused, and more patient and controlled rather than impulsive. So in Sagittarius, it's been a case of having our belief systems challenged and understanding which beliefs we need to let go of, especially beliefs related to who we are and what we're capable of, so that we can then empower ourselves to achieve that true freedom where we experience joy of being, and we take complete responsibility for ourselves and complete responsibility for our happiness and our belief systems, rather than relying on other people to tell us what to believe. And through doing this, unlocking that potential within us to believe that we do have the capacity to achieve the goals or the dreams that we may hold within us, but we may fear failure or fear taking action, because either we're afraid of failure, or conversely we may be afraid of success and the added responsibility that brings. But by challenging these beliefs that underlie these fears, and by doing this work consciously, we can release any limiting beliefs, and this will then empower us to change our sense of self-identity to one that's based on empowering beliefs about who we are and what we're capable of doing. And likewise, it's about disciplining our actions so we're not being impulsive and rash. The actions that we take are maintained, or they're kept in check by that sense of discipline, that need to control our actions rather than let them get out of hand, and to become disciplined and patient and focused, so that whatever goals or dreams or visions that we may hold that we want to manifest, we take the disciplined action to make it happen, whilst having the wisdom of the higher mind showing us who we are and what we're truly capable of, and the creative or the innovative nature that we can tap into when circumstances challenge us. So this is a wedge formation that's going to take place over the next 2 weeks or so. So it brings a lot of change. Now we also have Pallas Athena here in Aries at the moment. She's retrograde at this stage, but will be turning direct soon. And with Pallas Athena, this is also the wisdom of initiation, of taking inspired action. And with her, with Uranus, we may well see or get visions of how we can take a more inspired humanitarian action in terms of our pioneering projects. But with Mars opposing Pallas Athena, this aspect here also highlights where we may struggle or feel blocked in releasing that creative energy that Pallas Athena holds, and this may well impact the masculine energies within us. So during this time, this is also highlighting where we need to look at where we have creative blocks within us, or where we fear taking action on behalf of those creative impulses, so they never manifest, they just remain inside us, and they just end up churning away doing nothing but causing aggravation, because we know we need to be doing something, but if we fear our creative impulse, or we feel it's blocked in any way, then we need to work through this, look at what part of us is blocking this creative impulse or the release of that creative energy. Do we have any fears about creativity, or do we believe we don't have that creative gift because we define creativity too narrowly? And overcome this particular fear so that we can take the disciplined action, we can create the products that we want to, and use the discipline of Saturn to take the steady actions necessary to manifest these goals. So there's quite a bit going on in the skies, but I hope it's a useful gauge for what's going on over the next few weeks and what we get expecting this week. So basically, this is a week where we're starting to, some of the planets are starting to move out of Scorpio now, so we're changing from the exploration south. Jupiter's obviously going to stay there until November of next year, so we're going to have all this need to explore our personal unconscious and releasing those binds. But at the same time, if we can do if we can get this work done and release that energy that's trapped within the psyche and old emotional patterns, it releases energy into Sagittarius, which allows us to aim much higher than what we may be used to aiming for, and looking beyond the earthly horizon, looking up into the cosmos instead. So Sagittarius is the firing of the arrow of truth and meaning. If we allow the ego to take control, then that arrow just gets fired into earthly desires and the need to gorge ourselves on those pleasures to a ridiculous extent. If it's fired up into the sky though, so we're looking to understand where we are or how we relate to the wider cosmos and the world around us, so all the people and different cultures and how everything has certain links and common roots, then we can move towards a more universal aspect of Sagittarius, which is universal truths which unite us and transcend cultural divisions, personal divisions, and allow us to feel much more tolerance towards other people's differences, rather than thinking that because someone's doing something a different way to how we think we should be doing things, that person is automatically wrong. If we can do this work, then we can develop much more tolerance and a much wider perspective of the world. So I hope that's a useful gauge for what this week involves. May it bring you many blessings. Take care.